Yo guys, it's your boy Dylan, and today we're going to be predicting week 5 of the NFL season, of this year's NFL season. But before we begin, this week actually starts the bye weeks for the NFL, as we have the Chargers, Eagles, Lions, and Titans. They're the first 4 teams to enter bye weeks for week 5. But nevertheless, let's get right into it, starting off with the Buccaneers and Falcons. Now, after losing week 3 from the Buccaneers, they did get a rebound week and they beat the Eagles, improving their record to 3-1. As for the Falcons, well, back to 500. Well, they've been at 500. But I do think for this week, it is going to go to the Buccaneers and they will further improve to a 4-1 record. Moving on to the Jets versus Vikings. The Jets, after back-to-back wins in weeks 2 and 3, they did go back to 500 after losing to the Broncos in a low-scoring affair to the Denver Broncos. As for the Vikings, they almost choked a 28-0 lead, and they were able to pull it off. They almost choked that lead. They were able to sneak their way to a 31-29 win, but if they would have choked that, they would, I do think, they could take a loss, but with the team they're playing, I'm going to have to go bold with this one. I'm saying they're going to go up to 500, not 500. They're going to go up to a 5-0 record. This could be one of the better starts or best starts we've seen out of the Falcons. And again, like we keep saying, J.J. McCarthy's not their quarterback. It's Sam Darnold that's what's leading this Vikings team to the 4-0 start. I think he's going to lead them to a 5-0 start. We got to go bold here. I think they could be one of the best teams. Probably, they're technically the best team in the NFC as of now. So the NFL may need to watch out. Moving on to the Panthers and Bears. After winning week 3 from the Panthers, they are back to losing games. As to the Bears, after losing back-to-back weeks, they did get a rebound week and they did improve back to 500 with a 2-2 record. I'm saying for the first time since week 1, they will go above 500 and they will improve to a 3-2 record while the Panthers will fall to a 1-4 record. Moving on to the Browns and Commanders. Browns, at least you have a 1-3 neighbor. That's the Cincinnati Bengals. As to the Commanders, though, I'm actually surprised that they're 3-1 and a first place team in the NFC East. They are actually one of the best teams in the NFC right now, and I'm actually surprised with the Commanders. I believe after week 1, they're on a 3-game winning streak. So the Commanders, they're actually playing really good right now. So you know what? I'm going to go with the Commanders to win week 5 in this week. Moving on to the Dolphins and Patriots, both teams tied for last place in the AFC East. And, with the Dolphins, literally without Tua Tagovailoa and Skylar Thompson, this is their 1-3 start. That's probably the true Dolphins right there. They lose games and they don't win games. Tua Tagovailoa is like their best quarterback out there, but without him, and again, even without Skylar Thompson, the Dolphins they're not that good. So, a bold pick right here, I'm going with the Patriots to improve to a 2-3 record, while the Dolphins fall to a 1-4 record. Moving on to the Colts versus Jaguars. The Jaguars, since the Panthers and all the other 31 teams, they have wins on their season, the Jaguars, they're the only team in the NFL that has yet to get a win, which is really sad. Because basically, if you think about it, they're basically back to being the NFL's worst team. I would like to see them get a win in week 5. And you know what? I think it's time for them to get a win. If they don't get a win, well, I guess they're the first and only team to have 5 losses first. So, best of luck for the Jaguars, I guess. Moving on to the Bills versus Texans. The Bills, they got crushed by the Ravens. And fun fact, they're the next game coming up on my list, but they just got obliterated. I would say obliterated, but man, again, just like with a couple other teams I am going to talk about, they were due for a loss. You can't go, not every team can go 5-0 or 7-0 or 10-0. You're going to need to take a loss at some point, and week 4 was that week that they took the loss, and big time though. As to the Texans, they might have lost week 3, but they were able to get back on track week 4, and they got the win. I think the Texans, they're going to go 4-1. I think the Bills, it's time to take a couple losses. I think this will be loss number 2 for the Bills, as the Texans go upwards to a 4-1 record. Moving on to the Ravens and Bengals. The Ravens, like I said, I think they're very serious now. After literally falling to an 0-2 start, I think they're not playing around much long. They're not playing around anymore. They even things back up to 500 as to the Bengals. Like I said with the Browns, at least you have a 1-3 neighbor. And, just like with the Browns, I think the Bengals, they're going to fall to a 1-4 record. While the Ravens, for the first time this year, I'm picking them to go. I would like to see them go above 500. A 3-2 record. So I am going with the Ravens to go above 500 and getting the win over the Bengals. Moving on to the Raiders and Broncos. Both teams, okay, basically it's a 3-way tie. Besides the Chiefs, it's a 3-way tie between the Chargers, the Broncos, and Raiders. The Broncos, they were able to pull off with the win here. Congratulations with them, I guess. Hey, I don't expect them to be like the worst team in the NFL, but, with that being said, the Raiders, they're also back 500. It could be a close game, although I am going with the Raiders to go above 500. I think that's my pick right there. The Raiders, they climb above 500, I believe, for the first time this year. So I'm gonna go with the Raiders for week 5. Moving on to the Cardinals and 49ers. The Cardinals, the first 2 weeks, they showed some offense, but then these past 2 weeks, back to where they kind of normally play, just not that good. As for the 49ers, Brock Purdy did play week 4. I know the weeks 2 and 3, they might have lost and they went below 500, but week 4 was their rebound week, and they were able to improve back up to 500. I do think, for the first time since week 1, I do think the 49ers, they will get back up to 500, get back above 500. I am going with the 49ers for week 5, as to where the Cardinals, they're going to continue slipping downwards. As to where we have the Giants and Seahawks, well, what did we expect there? The Giants, they might have won week 3, but they, unfortunately, it's just a bunch of field goals for them in week 4, unfortunately, as they lose to a not that good Cowboys team for this year. As for the Seahawks, just like with the Bills, you got to take a loss or two, and week 4 was their first loss of the season. Although, with knowing the Giants, I do think the Seahawks are going to get their 4th win of the year. Moving on to the Packers and Rams. Packers, they almost pulled it off in week 4 with a comeback, which is the largest, technically you could say it's the largest comeback, but unfortunately they were unable to pull off with the victory though. That's the thing though. But after winning the first 2 weeks, they unfortunately lost the next 2 weeks, basically making them go back down to 500. As for the Los Angeles Rams, they might have won week 3, but they did not win week 4. And they're tied with the Cardinals for last place. I do think the Packers, since they do have Jordan Love back, I do think the Packers are going to rebound. I think it's time for them to rebound, and it's time for them to go back above 500. As for the Rams, they're going to go back down to a 1-4 record, still tied with the Cardinals for last place. Moving on to the Cowboys and Steelers. The Cowboys, after starting 1-2 in the first 3 weeks, week 4 in a lopsided 20-15 win, I believe, the Cowboys were able to pull off a win and get back up to 500. As for the Steelers, just like with the Bills, just like with the Seahawks, they were due for that loss. Although, with the Steelers, and knowing the Cowboys with how they've been playing a bit iffy this year, I'm going to go with the Steelers for week 5. I'm saying the Cowboys are going to go back below 500, As for the Steelers, I'm saying they're going to get their 4th win of the year. And now, with the final game for week 5, we have the Saints and Chiefs. The Saints, they won their first 2 weeks, but then these last 2 weeks have just been kind of, it's kind of eh. As for the Chiefs, they're having their best start. This is their first 4-0 start since 2020, since the 2020-21 season. Although in week 5 they did take the loss. And I keep saying, oh, it's time for a couple of these teams to start taking losses. With the Chiefs, with how they're playing right now, I think with this game, I think they're going to start 5-0. Honestly, give me the Chiefs for week 5. I think the Chiefs, they're probably going to improve to a 5-0 record. As for the Saints, they're going to lose this next game. Now, with this next portion of the video, we have 3 teams that are improving and then 3 teams that they're kind of falling downwards. They're falling apart. And I'm going to jump back and forth between improving and then I'm going to jump back and forth between declining. Starting off with the Ravens. Now, for those of you that don't know, and this is on the improving side, by the way, I'm starting off with the Ravens. The Ravens, for those that don't know, in the first 2 weeks, they were 0-2. They were you could kind of say one of the worst teams, but, they're not a horrible team, if you know what I mean. They're a good team, if by anything. And after that, they almost blew a win over the Cowboys, but they were able to beat the Cowboys. But then against the Bills, they just destroyed the Bills, and they were able to come back. Not come back. They were able to tie things up. Well, in terms of record-wise, they were able to because they're now a 2-2 team. They should have enough to go back above 500, and I would like to see them, win some games, as they are right now. Moving on to the declining side, the Rams. I believe I said this last week too. They're kind of like a pattern. One season, they're really good. Then the next season, oh, they're bad. They missed the playoffs. Then the next season, they're a playoff team again. With how this season's panning out, if they continue losing games, this could be another season where they will probably miss the playoffs, not make the playoffs. So, the Rams, it's just not gone their way so far. Moving on with improving side. And with the improving, I have the Commanders. First place in the NFC East, which is really good for them so far. Thanks to the Eagles going down to 2-2, the Cowboys at 2-2, and then with the Giants, whatever they're doing is actually pretty good right now. I would like to see the Commanders continue winning from here, and I like to see what the Commanders are doing. Moving on with the Dolphins, and like I said earlier in the video, literally without Tua Tagovailoa and Skylar Thompson, this is literally the reality of the Dolphins. For those that don't know, the Dolphins, they did start off the year with the win, but then ever since then, it has just been loss after loss after loss. And I believe in a week 3 matchup against the Bills, Tua Tagovailoa did suffer a concussion, basically being out for the rest of the year. And then Skylar Thompson, then week 4, he was injured, so that just resulted to the 3rd string quarterback. And then look where they're at today, 1-3. So like I said, without those 2 quarterbacks, the Dolphins are, even just without Tua Tagovailoa, they're not that good. And that's why they're up on that list. Improving, we got the Minnesota Vikings. Now, like I said, they almost choked a 28-3 lead, but with that one field goal that they made to get those 30 to get the final 3 points, it was needed for them to get the win. And like I said, 4-0 start. I was not expecting this by the Vikings, and doing this with Sam Darnold, this is actually impressive. Hopefully, this saves Sam Darnold's career, honestly. But moving on to the declining team, the final declining team, and this is actually my number 1 pick for the declining team. I have the Jaguars. Like I've said these past couple weeks, it almost, or even just going back to 2022-23, which that was just 2 seasons ago. It almost felt like the 2 seasons ago was almost like a fluke, as to where they started off really good last season, but then they declined like mid to late season. They declined hard. They went on like a 4-5 game losing streak. Then they lost. Then they won the second to last week, and then the last week they were eliminated. But ever since like late season last year, things have just not gone their way. And since the Panthers and a few other bad teams, they do have wins, and every other team, has wins. The Jaguars are the only winless team in the NFL. That's not good. That is not good by Jacksonville. And worst comes to worst, if they lose to the Colts, they will be the one and only team that will probably start 0-5. And I would like to see the Jaguars get a win at some point. They need to win at some point, but they're basically back to rock bottom in the NFL again, it looks like. So hopefully things get better in the long run for the Jaguars. And that will do it for today's video. And if you guys want to see more content like this, then please smash that subscribe button and smash the like button. Comment if you want to see something else. Until then, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.